Even for something like this, like, would you have just asked for the afternoon?
I'll just put my out of office on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cloud Machine Podcast. My name is Mat Landry, and in this 34th episode, I'm here with Avry. Throughout this podcast, we discuss opening for the Black Eyed Peas, growing up in Vancouver, influences, balancing other jobs while starting up in the music industry, and first up with RBCxMusic. We also play the Dream Fest game. Thanks for listening. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cloud Machine Podcast. For those who are new to this podcast, Cloud Machine is about the music industry and its stakeholders, meaning everyone that works in it, lives it, loves it, and surrounds it. Our goal is to shine a light on roles, people, and realities of the music industry that are often forgotten or taken for granted. Whether you're someone that's dreaming about making a move in the industry, have some songs recorded and don't know what to do with them, or just a listener that wants to learn more, you're at the right place. This week, I have the immense pleasure of welcoming Avry to the podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Happy to be here.
I'm great. Yeah, thanks for being here. We're starting off the podcast with a question that we always ask every guest. Your favorite live show experience as a fan?
As a fan. That's hard.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of really good ones in the past couple of years. I've been going and trying to make a point to go to as many concerts as I can.
Yeah.
I would say Omar Apollo in Toronto
Yes,
was one of the best. It was a pretty intimate crowd, and you could tell a lot of the people there were genuine fans of the music. Everyone knew like almost every word.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty surreal. And like, especially when he was playing like a lot of his more stripped down songs, they were like, crowd was quiet.
Yeah.
Pin drop, quiet. So yeah, great show.
You say that you want to go to as many shows as possible. Is it because you want to apply all these things that you see at the show, like for your own show? Like what's that like? What's the motive behind going to all these new shows?
That's a good point, to be honest. I think ever since I started playing live, I realized how much goes into the back end. Like there's so much like prep and practice that you have to put in, even like little effects that get thrown. Like you have to be like right on the money with those. So a lot of the time for me, like going to live shows, I appreciate a lot of the work that goes into them.
Yeah.
Even like for me, I've never played ones with like the crazy, like all the lights and effects like that. So even coordinating that stuff is like another level, but gives me a lot of like an influence and, experience to kind of just be able to watch, some of the bigger names perform.
Yeah. Where was the Omar Apollo show?
It was a History, I think.
Okay, great. Yeah. What about some other shows, maybe more intimate, maybe bigger shows, like some Scotiabank, Budweiser? Like, are there some big shows that have influenced you on the live scene, like you're saying?
I will say a pretty crazy one, and it was pretty surreal for me because I never really thought I was going to ever go to this type of a show, but I saw Usher in Vegas, which was pretty crazy.
That's wild. Yeah,
I mean, I grew up listening to my mom pretty much exclusively listens to that type of R&B side. My first concert ever was the Backstreet Boys with her when I was 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, Usher was crazy. It was it was literally like a full it was like a play / a musical.
Sure.
There was acts. It was crazy to see a show like that. I've never really seen one like that. There was outfit changes. I've seen that kind of stuff on TV and stuff, but never really before that. It was crazy.
How was the Vegas experience? Was it is it in a hotel? Is it on the Strip?
Yeah.
Because I know Usher now is pretty much strictly Vegas.
Yeah, he's got a residency there. Yeah. I forget what hotel exactly it's at, but yeah, it's hotel. It's a hotel vibe. It's sick though. Yeah, it was a crazy show. For
those who don't know, I mean, Usher, you got to check out. Obviously, one of the biggest names, but is NPR Tiny Desk? I don't know if you saw that.
It's insane.
Yeah, crazy. They got 25, 30 people on that show. So crazy.
Yeah.
Favorite live experience now, switching over to as an artist.
Yeah. Again, a good question.
Yeah.
I've played some really cool shows, and I think for me, the Canadian Open was probably my favorite.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was through RBCxMusic, so I have them to thank for that. But
shout out.
Huge shout out. But I'm a huge golf fan.
And
I play golf every week.
Okay.
So I remember they kind of were poking and seeing if I was available for the day.
Yeah.
And I didn't have many details on the event at all, though.
Right.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know any details really, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then they were I was like, yeah, I'm in. Sure, I'll do it because I just love playing live. I'm happy to just I'll take any op, to be honest.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, I think my manager was messaging them asking because I was like, please, find out what it is. I'm so curious. I'm such a curious person with that stuff. And he messaged them and was like, what is it? And they were like, it's the Canadian Open. And I literally I freaked out.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like, it'd be like a basketball fan playing like, like in an NBA game. Like,
Yeah, no.
So
totally.
yeah, I got to like see a lot of the golfers. I was like around the area, and the stage was cool. I've never actually played outside either.
Okay,
Like
sure.
all the shows I've ever done have always been indoors.
Yeah.
So outside was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah. For you, what are the biggest differences for outside versus inside playing?
Crowd, I think.
Yeah.
To be honest, inside it's so easy to just get like a really condensed and like intimate crowd.
Sure.
Outside, it's like harder to tame because everyone's kind of like all over the place, and like people are getting drinks. People are like at the open too. Like there's games. There's a Sirius XM stand. Like,
sure.
People are kind of all over the place. So getting everyone collected in like an area is like a little harder. I found I had to like
totally. Yeah. Especially at a festival or at a sort of event like that where you're not the only thing that's going on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Totally. Getting the people's attention is a whole other ball game.
And people are there for golf, so they see like me go on stage and they're like, "Why is this guy here?" So I have to like kind of convince them. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. What kind of speech are we going to listen to here?
I know, seriously. I was going to do a dance routine. Or something.
Next question, we go into the more of the business side of things. Erica Badu has a quote. It's music and music business are two different things. Just a very general quote. Music and music business are two different things. What are your first instincts when you hear that sentence? And where are you at in your own personal journey in the music business?
First instinct is true.
Sure.
It's an accurate statement, to be honest. Like I remember my first like reasoning with that is I had when I started making music, like I was only about the music. I didn't know like anything industry wide at all. Like, I just like was making stuff I liked, putting together what I call like mock projects. And then I would just kind of like make the music and go to bed. And like I never really had like the live experience yet. Like I was just literally making music on Ableton. Like that's all I was doing. And then I remember when I was finally getting ready to put it out, I had a conversation with my friend who's in the industry, and he said, "Are you going to float it to anyone?" I was like, "What do you mean float it to anyone?" He was like, "Are you going to like send it to like labels or like how are you going to market it? What type of press is going to be involved?" And I remember being so overwhelmed. I got home and I was like, "Okay, I guess I just don't have to make the music." So there's totally a different side to it. Like once you make a song, that's the easy part in my opinion, and then like figuring out the like whole lead up and how you're going to market it, like who's going to be involved, who's going to like be like someone that's going to really like stick behind the record. Is there a label distribution side of it? Like I don't know, like all these things kind of like all popped up. So for me it was like kind of a learning from the hard way type of thing. Like on the first song I was like, okay, well I guess I really have to like think about this stuff. It's all important. So there's definitely a difference between the both for sure.
Where did the manager come into play? Was it post first single? Was it was it a friend in the beginning kind of thing?
Pretty late, to be honest. I mean, I'm pretty like, I would say I'm relatively particular. Like
sure.
I just like, I'm happy managing myself until the point like that I can't anymore. So I have a great manager now. His name's Gene. And he helps so much with like the back end of stuff and just like the admin side of things. Like I can't do like the email stuff anymore. Like I have like other things I need to be focusing on. So he's been amazing and really, really integral in like the whole process. But it came out pretty late. Like I put out like probably a whole album before Bloom came out. Before he started like actually kind of taking more of the reins in terms of the management. Before that it was kind of friends, and then I was doing it myself a little bit. I actually had a management. I don't know if this is going to divulge any secret, but I had so before I was always like, always the advice I would get is when you're flipping your music to labels, like it's important to like have a manager or like a point of contact that like they can have. So I was like, well, I don't have a manager. And they were like, okay, well, like you maybe should find one. And I was like, I don't want to find one in my head. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to like pose as one. So I have like my like averymusic.co like email handle. So I created like a management email. And it was just me the whole time. And I named the guy Mark. So if any press or like labels have gotten any messages from Mark, it's me. And then anytime they want to call, I literally always have to say he's on a plane, and then I just take it.
Sure.
That's so. Anyways, I don't know if that's gonna like people are gonna listen. And be like, so that
was what are some of the other like things that you learned like early on without necessarily having a manager that now you sort of like? Are there things that you're grateful for now that Gene sort of gives you that you didn't even know existed beforehand?
I think it's honestly just like outreach and thought. Like for me, I'm just like, I'm so in love with the making of the music process that I just like, it's so hard for me to think of like creative ways to, like promote a song. Like, or even just like avenues to hit. Like for example, like Gene, like he has great connections in like the press area, and like he's been like working in that area for a while. So like for me, he played like a really, really important part in like connecting a lot of those dots for me. Yeah. Whereas I would have just thrown it out on Spotify and been like, whoever finds it, finds it. Like very true, like musician. I feel like that, like it's just like the music will talk, but like a lot of times the music does not talk. Like you need to put it in front of ears for it to talk. So and then I have Elliot who like does a lot of my creative direction. He's like he does like pretty much all that stuff for me. Yes.
You mentioned Spotify. You mentioned it not always working if you're just putting it out like that. Yeah. Where is the music industry at for you now? And where do you think it's going? Yeah. Like just in general, like, you know, we're in the streaming age, sure, but where do you find yourself in it now, and where do you think it's going?
Yeah, I mean the obvious answer is like obviously TikTok's huge.
Yes.
I like struggle with it though. Like I'm not really someone that like, I need to still find my niche in like the TikTok framework.
Yeah.
And I know streaming's huge, but I've actually noticed that I think videos are have become a little less impactful recently. Yeah, like a lot of music videos people spend huge budgets on, and like they're really not like generating anything.
Yes.
And like a lot of the time I feel like they're not necessarily worth the money. I've seen some amazing videos that I know for a fact are low budget. So I think like low budget videos and like throwing a lot of money into like ads and campaigns and like a great live show, I think that's kind of where it's heading for me. I don't think like crazy like $100,000 videos are really gonna like be the focus for like labels and people, and I think we're already seeing that. So
yes,
I think like definitely live. I think live performances are gonna be huge though.
Yeah,
putting on a great live show is something that like even for me the first time my first live show I ever played, I was kind of like, well, I wonder how like much it's gonna connect. And I remember like I feel like the people that I met that I didn't know at the show that came just for the music, those people have been like always replying to my stories, like with my posts. They're always there for like the whole ride. So like that's how I feel like truly generate like a fan. So
yes, and it is recognizing the friends versus the fans.
Yeah, that was a big one. I feel like even for my friends, like my very first show, of course, it was like mainly my friends, and then I think my second show I played, I had like a little bit of a fan base there, and I remember for my friends, it was like the weirdest thing ever because like there were people there that like didn't know me and like were just coming for like Avry, not Connor. So kind of weird. Yeah.
Tell us about like the origin story, where you grew up. What was like your childhood like?
Yeah, childhood was I honestly don't really have any complaints. I grew up in Vancouver, so out west, very different than out east here, to be honest.
Yes,
like the whole landscape is just so different. Things you focus on are so different too. Like I remember here, like it's a lot of like food, bar scene, like things like that. Vancouver, it's like hiking, surfing, like road trips, weekend trips, camping, like those things. So I was around a lot of that as a kid, to be honest. And then I kind of was like really into sports. Like I was playing sports pretty much up until I went to college, like pretty professionally. And then I went to college and kind of stopped it all. But yeah, I mean, I had a really good upbringing in Vancouver. I have nothing bad to say about the city. I mean, it is a little slow, but
sure.
But yeah, beautiful place. I miss it a lot.
What was your musical upbringing like? Like, was it like? Did you have do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a weird family. I'm gonna give you the breakdown here.
Okay, please. Yeah.
Okay, so mom and dad split at 8.
Yeah.
I was the only kid.
Okay.
So only child.
Yeah.
Technically. Mom remarried.
Okay.
So my stepdad had 3 kids from his previous marriage.
Okay.
So I have 3 step siblings.
Right.
They're all kind of around my age.
Yeah.
Dad remarried. He and my stepmom had 2 kids. So I have 2
so half siblings.
2 half brothers. Yeah.
Sure.
Young, 7 and 5.
Okay.
So I was like an only child, and then very much not an only child. But it was a great upbringing. I'm like very, very close with like every side of my family. So
it's great.
It's great.
Did they have any like musical influence on you? Did they play?
For sure.
Did they play like some instruments themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, I had like my mom plays piano. Yeah, and actually she won't admit it, but she has a good voice.
Great.
But my stepsister actually was the one who always wanted to be the singer, and she was so tone deaf. Love you to death, Maddie. But yeah, like and I was always like in car rides, like I would kind of sing, and people would be like, "Oh, you've kind of like some decent tone." I'm like, "Really? Like that's cool." But yeah, growing up, I was around so much different type of music. Like, I'm kind of thankful for it now, though, to be honest. Like, it helped frame a lot of like what I focused on.
Yeah.
Like I said, my mom is like super into like the old R&B, like 80s, 90s music. So I was around a lot of that, and I feel like that music is very, very melody heavy. Like, it's so catchy, and like that's why it like really like makes its mark. My dad was like really on the alt rock side. I was super like exposed to like Radiohead, Coldplay, National, REM, like those Tragically Hip. Like I could go on and on. He probably has a bunch that he's like in his head right now.
Totally.
Like, why don't you say those ones? But that was a great musical influence too. As a kid though, I actually hated that music. Like I was always in the car with him and he was playing it and I would be like, put on the radio, like I want to hear Pop 40. And like now like more and more years go by and the more I start to like that stuff. Now I send him like alt tracks that he's like, whoa, this is cool. And like he's so impressed that like I like that music now. But yeah.
That's great. I have to ask, I'm a huge Radiohead fan.
Okay,
do you have a favorite record?
Yeah, I have a few. I feel like In Rainbows is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I feel like there's just like no misses on it. But
it's true.
I love it. And they're like From the Basements on YouTube.
Yes. Oh my God, you're speaking my language now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're like, Tom's amazing. And like, I never knew, I actually was watching the Weird Fishes in the Basement, like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, for the longest time, I didn't know Ed did the backups.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, that makes that song for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You have a song, I have to say. I was listening to the discography the other day. And it's very much Weird Fish's drums to beginning. Yeah, it's the ref.
No sound. Yeah.
That's
the one.
Amazing. Yeah, for me, it's In Rainbows, gotta say. Just, it came out at a special time for me. I'm sure we're like sort of the same age. I'm sure 9 years old when that came out, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's just like I never appreciated it really until I was like probably around like 19. Once I honestly started making music, that's when I started appreciating it. Yeah, I was recording on like loops for so long at the beginning of my music journey. And then as soon as I started working with like producers like in the room from scratch, like it's a lot more difficult, but so much more rewarding. Yeah. And then you listen to a song like A Weird Fishes and you're like, you realize how many layers and like things are in that song. It's like the most opposite of a loop like song that exists. So you should appreciate it a lot more, I think.
Amazing. In some interviews, there's Radiohead, but there's also Omar Apollo and Brockhampton as influences. How do those now meet with a Radiohead that's more sort of analog, sort of alty indie, 90s, 2000s? Like how are you meshing those two?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think like I've always still had like a really good and big appreciation for kind of like I would say somewhere like in Omar's lane, which is like almost like pop, but like he has elements of like other genres seeping in. Yeah. Because that's kind of how I feel about my music. So I can relate to him very heavily in that sense. But I've just always loved his tone and his writing. So I've focused so much more in the last couple of years on my writing, and that's such a big piece for me now. Mm-hmm. Before it was like all melody. I was like, if it's catchy, it'll stick. And then now I'm like, if it's going to be timeless and something I want to even listen to in like 5-10 years, like it has to be written well. Yeah. So I think Omar like is a perfect example of that. I think a lot of his earlier work was like really melody heavy, and like his writing has just gotten better and better and better and better. Mm-hmm. And he has a killer voice. So that's big. And Brockhampton, I think just production style is so cool. Like there's like such a cool collectives, have so many voices, and I think like their production is like pretty crazy. Like there isn't really anyone that's like pushing boundaries, I think, production wise. I mean, there probably is, but like in that realm, they're really like leading that, or we're leading that. I know they broke up, but got some really good stuff in them.
Just going back to the origin story now. How was like the arts and culture scene in high school? Like you said that you were playing a lot of sports, but were you also like in music class? Did you do all that stuff, or is it really just
not new.
In college?
Totally not new. I started I learned guitar and like self-taught off like YouTube in first year university.
It was like
I did choir, I think, for like 1 year in I want to say like grade 8.
Early though.
That was it though. Yeah. I had like I love music. I like listened to it. I made playlists. Like I was super into like discovery, but I never ever thought I would be making it.
Did your friends like know you as like the music guy, or you like would you create playlists with like for some of your friends?
Yeah, I would say like I mean they might have something else to say about it, but I would say they thought I had like good taste. But and like I like tried to obviously like find like new stuff that like people really hadn't heard of. Yeah. That was obviously like try and find the diamond in the rough. Mm-hmm. Or like a song like before it takes off. That was always like really rewarding. Sure. So I would try and do that a lot. Yeah. But other than that, like never thought of like creating it myself. Yeah. I just love finding it and listening to it.
Fast forward now to going to U of T for finance. Yeah. Discovering that passion for music as an artist. And in an article I read, In your friend's dorm room? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story about it. So yeah, third year university. I was like, my best friends were this producer named Memblem. He's Memblem now.
Okay.
His real name's Michael, and then Noah. He's also a singer. So Michael and Noah lived together.
Yeah.
On Bay Street, and then I lived at Yonge and Bloor. So
Okay.
we were like very, very close. I would see them almost every day. So Michael started off. He's from Asia, and then he started off in the like kind of house world. So he did a lot of like house music production. So I remember he was always kind of producing in his dorm. He had an SM7B or something that he would like, track like scratch vocals with. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I remember in like third year, we all went out to Libertine one night, I think.
Okay.
It was a late one.
Yeah.
We got home at like 4 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
And I remember me and Noah got home and we kind of like were listening to this loop Michael was playing. And I started just like humming this random melody. And Michael looked at me, he's like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, what? What's cool? And then he was like, the melody you were singing. I was like, oh, no, I don't know what it was. Like, whatever.
Sure.
So he's like, no, just like sing it into this mic. So I ended up just singing like some stupid like scratch vocal in, and Noah put something down too. And we like kind of turned into like, I wouldn't even call it a song, but a song.
Yeah.
And then I remember waking up the next morning at their house because I slept over, and we listened to it all together, and I like was like, I'm in love with it.
Yeah.
I like just hearing myself like on like something. I was like, that's so cool. Like I feel like I just like it a lot now.
Yeah.
So that whole summer, we created a group called 404, which was their apartment number. And I was there every day in the summer, and we made like a song a day, put out an album. That was kind of like the intro to music. And then from there, I just started going to like some studios around Toronto, meeting some engineers. And then I finally heard myself on like a proper vocal chain. And I was like, oh my God, it's next level.
Yeah.
And ever since that happened, then I was like, okay, now I need to like start putting my own money and, time into this. Cause I was making a lot of like R&B, like rap stuff.
Right.
That's kind of what I started.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started to, invest some money in my own like home stuff.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really feel confident. Because a lot of the sessions I would do, the engineers were like really cool. They would let me like have free studio time, but it would be like a party in the room. And I was like, this is the last place I'm gonna make like a guitar song.
Yeah.
With like an acoustic vibe on it. Like no chance I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's important to me though. Like that's the type of music I like really identify with a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So once I like invested in my own like home studio, that's when I would say I like truly started like developing as an artist. And then from there,
Yeah. What were your first steps after the home studio? Was it, okay, now I can start my own project, my own thing, and then just bringing some songs that you had already written? Or is it just like starting the writing process?
Yeah, kind of net new. I mean, as a group, we made like a lot of songs together.
Yeah.
And like I live with Noah now. Like me and Michael are still really close, and like we'll always like still like bounce ideas off each other, which is great. But yeah, honestly, like a lot of the early days of that was just me figuring out, okay, I really like music, I like writing, and like I find it really like cool to like play music for people that will actually listen to it.
Yeah.
I remember the first time it was my conjoined birthday party with my friend Jill, who's in college with us. We rented out the Annex Hotel, which was actually a sweet space, and Michael DJ'd and he played one of our songs that we were working on. And I remember looking around the crowd, and people were like still like, it didn't throw them off. Like they were like still like dancing and like, hanging out to it. And I was like, wow, that's like crazy to me. Like no one like had to be like, wait, what's playing? Like, why is this sound so bad and different? Everyone was like, oh, it kind of blends. So from that moment, I was like, okay, this is cool. Like this is definitely going to be my hobby. It might be more and now it's more. So
yeah. Were there some other moments like that where it was like, sort of it like moments where your mind changed about something, or like sort of like milestones in your journey so far?
For sure. I think my first label deal was like a big one. I signed with like a division of Universal for my first project, Bloom. And just like having that buy-in was crazy. I was like, I like have no music out and I have a label on board already. That's such a blessing. And first live show, that was another big one. I played Golden Hour at it's on King Street.
Okay.
I forget the exact bar name. It'll come to me. They kind of put it on where like once a month on the Monday they'll put like 3 artists in front of the crowd. It's a really cool industry event, and that playing a live show was crazy because I was so nervous. I had the other 2 artists I remember walking in, and I invited none of my friends. Like my parents didn't know, my friends didn't know I was even playing it because I was like, I don't want anyone there. I don't want anyone looking at me. I'm gonna be so stressed out. And I remember getting there, and there was 2 other girls playing. They were like sitting at a table with their friends drinking like ginger tea or something. And then like I was at like my own table. They were like, "Is anyone else coming?" I'm like, "No, I don't think so. Probably just me." And I was like literally having, I think I was just drinking water. And then right before I was about to go on, I'm like, "Oh my God," I'm like shaking. I'm like so nervous.
Yeah.
So I think I ordered like 2 shots and I just like slammed them back. And then I went on, performed. It was probably like pretty lackluster, but for me, it was crazy because like I finished and like people were coming up to me asking for like my Instagram or like my Spotify. And I was like, "Really? After that?" Like you want my Instagram?
Sure. Yeah.
But it was crazy like that, just for people that have no idea who you are, that like are down to just like listen to your stuff after hearing you like sing is like insane.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. And then obviously like the first up with RBCxMusic program was huge.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like that type of support, and like even from a corporate lens, like the buy-in there is like, it's insane. So
Yeah.
I am very, very grateful for that. That was a big turning point for me. I was like, maybe this could be, something.
Yeah. With the label, did the label come into play after the first live show, or was it even just before?
Which is a big thing.
That's wild.
I know, because usually they're like, "I have to see you play live."
Yes, at least
once or like twice. But I was like, no, I'd never played live when they came on.
Was this during the pandemic?
Before
the pandemic?
No, it was actually during. Yeah, it was right at the beginning.
That they came on.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was that process like? Because again, I'm having all these people from the first up RBCxMusic program on, mostly emerging artists.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people that come up to me, they're like, "Oh my God, you have this podcast, whatever." We're also new artists. They have so many questions in regards to management, taking the next steps, labels. Oh, when does one artist need to have all these pieces put together?
Yeah.
What was the process like for you? Were you pitching Bloom?
Yeah.
First record? What was that process like? Was it with Gene?
Yeah, I didn't know Gene at that time actually at all. So it was with Bloom. So I actually had one album fully made, and it was called something different before Bloom.
Okay.
And I scrapped it, the entire thing. I was like, "I'm done. I don't want any of it."
Right.
So I think I took, actually, to be fair, one song and I put it on Bloom. And then I made Bloom. I sent it around to a bunch of random people. Like I would just like cold email off. Like I did the old business trick that I learned in business school. I would like go on like all the major labels' LinkedIn's and like find who actually works there, and like Rocket Reach, I think it's called. And then I would find all the emails. So yeah, I was scheming in college for sure. But I think I sent it to this one guy. Actually found me because I the Kid Carson show in Vancouver. It's like a radio show in Vancouver.
Okay,
so
no, I don't.
I got played on the radio there, and I interviewed there. And then this guy named Darren Lamb, who is like a Toronto radio guy. He's in Vancouver now, actually. He randomly reached out and he's like, "Hey, I really like the music." And I was like, "Do you want to hear my project?" And he was like, "Sure." And I sent it to him. And he was like, "I love it. Do you mind if I send this to a friend?" And I was like, "Please send it to anyone you want." I literally don't care. Like, it can fly anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So he ended up sending it to this guy named Dale, who works at Universal on the radio side, based out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
And he emailed me back, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like it said like "U Music" at the end, and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you want to get on the phone?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I remember getting on the phone with him. I was telling him about like my journey, where I was at.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I think I have like the perfect person for you." So he passed me on to this girl named Kiki, who started a label called Daydream. She's amazing, based out of Vancouver as well.
Yeah.
And I get on the phone with her, and she's like, "All right, like I like love the music. Team likes the music. Any questions?" And I was like, "I thought you were gonna have." Yeah, I guess. So I asked her a few questions, and then she, I signed like that week.
Okay.
And it was done. And then they helped me put out Bloom, which was a crazy journey.
Yeah. Can I ask what the process was like just with them as an artist that hadn't necessarily released that much?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just going out of bounds here, but was it? Did they take the whole like emerging artists? We're gonna do a whole bunch of things for you, like a 360 sort of approach to it.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
So they did like pretty much everything for me at the beginning. I mean, they were a startup label, but they still distroed out of Universal.
Universal.
So they had the pull. So Kiki helped put a lot of pieces in place for me, honestly, early on, like in terms of press. My first couple live shows, like they were helping with a lot. And just like funding to finish the project. And get it to where it needed to be. Yeah. So I have them to thank for that for sure. And like for this project that's coming out on the 6th, I have like I'm distroing through AWOL, so they've been really good.
Oh, great!
That, but it's more of the distro side because I have a lot of the other pieces in play.
Yeah.
For now, so
by the way, you can talk about the new record because this is coming out On September 12th.
September 12th. Okay.
Yeah, so you could speak freely about the new record as you'd like.
Cool.
I have here from my research Favors with John Vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to ask, was that pre-Bloom?
Mid-Bloom.
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 Okay, because I saw both of them were released in 2022. Bloom, November 2022.
Yeah.
What was that? I just need to ask because you hadn't necessarily released that much music then when you got with John. What was that connected? Were you friends in college?
Yeah, this is a good story, actually. Okay. So, yeah, John and that whole relationship was a pretty crazy start, to be honest. So I had just actually liked his music, to be honest.
Sure.
And in the process of scrapping that old project I had, because I wanted to kind of just explore like more indie, more alternative music. Yeah. That's kind of where I always like felt my lane was going to be. I had all these R&B songs that I like really liked. Yeah. For me, I was like, they don't fit necessarily like my narrative. Like, I don't think they're going to come out, but like a couple of them, I was like, they have potential for sure.
Right, right.
So I remember I sent them over to like a bunch of R&B artists in Toronto, and no one replied other than John's brother, who's his manager, Jamil.
Yeah.
He replied in like 10 minutes after the email got sent. He was like, hey, what are you looking to do with that track Favors? I was like, I don't know. I'm open to like pretty much anything. I'm like happy if John wants to like maybe feature on it. I knew that was kind of like a bit of a grasp considering like my size to his.
Sure.
And then he was like, well, I think like feature wise, like it probably wouldn't work, but John like loves the song. He wants to cut it.
Right.
And I was like, I had never written anything for another artist.
Right.
Like,
sure.
Just myself. So I like didn't know what that process was going to be like. So I remember being like, I'm happy for him to cut it.
Yeah.
But the business side of me was like, I need to be on it though still.
Right, right.
And he was like, yeah, okay. We went back and forth, and finally they were like, okay, yeah, we'll give you a verse on it. I was like, okay, done. I'm good.
That's great.
So he was like, so I was texting with John a little bit. He was like, hey, I just cut it yesterday. Do you want to come by the studio? It was at Post Office uptown. And he was like, do you want to come by and listen to it and cut your verse? And I was like, yeah, good. Am I doing the second verse? He's like, yeah, second verse. Cool. And I was like, okay, great. So I left work early, went to go to the studio.
Yeah.
In the Uber, it's like 30 minutes away. In the Uber, he calls me. He's like, hey, by the way, I'm still really happy to have you cut a verse on it, but I just cut the second verse and I love it. So if you want to cut another verse, you have to, it's new. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, no problem. So I wrote a verse in the car.
Okay, well.
Like in the Uber up, and I cut it, and that's the verse on the song. That's the third verse. But yeah, great. I mean, they're amazing, amazing people to work with.
Yeah.
Like, John is pretty much the only one that I like really, really have like grown with in terms of writing.
Yeah.
I'll write for like artists like here and there, but like I really love working with John and his team. And I think his music is gonna like do some great things. I worked on the Thinking About You song that he just put out.
Yeah.
I helped him write that one, and then No Feelings as well. Helped him write that. No Feelings was funny. He actually sent it to me, and I have like this notorious like thing that I work really fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes too fast.
Yeah.
So I remember he like texted to me. He's like, hey, I got this chorus, but I need verses. And I was like, okay, cool. So I loaded it in my Ableton. I was already at my computer. 20 minutes later, I sent him the whole song back. I was like, here it is. And then he was like, oh, it's fire. And then I heard nothing about it. And then like right before Thinking About You was coming out, I'm like, oh, what are you going to put out next? He's like, oh, probably No Feelings. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, you want to, like, I want to hear it. And he was like, he sent it to me. I'm like, wait, these are the verses that I put down that day. And he was like, oh, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, they're the verses. And I'm like, oh, crazy.
Wild.
But yeah, we're working actually on his next project together.
Okay.
So we're working with my really good friend Chris Young, who's also an artist, but he's helping a lot on the production side.
Okay.
But I'm really excited for John. I think his new stuff that we're working on right now is going to do really well. So I'm really excited for it.
Amazing. What can people expect about your new project? Because it's out now. This is coming out September 12th.
Yeah.
What's the pitch?
Yeah. So I think the project actually did get pushed a month, sadly.
Okay.
So it's October 6th.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Is the project.
Okay.
So Call Me On Your Way is the last single.
Yes.
That's coming out on my birthday, which is September 1st.
Yes.
And that's with Harper. He's featuring on it, and him and my really good friend Ankur, they are both part of Good Karma, the collective. And Good Karma and Kilometer in conjunction pretty much produced the whole thing.
Okay.
So it's called Fields of Honey. It's I think it's 7 songs, and I mean, I love it. I've been working on it. It's been done for a while, so
Yeah.
You probably know how it
That
is as an
feeling,
artist.
yeah.
It's after something's done, you're just kind of in the planning phase.
Yeah.
But yeah, it honestly represented a lot for me. Like meeting those guys and the rest of the whole collective. You know, Chris, Rob, like all those guys, and some really talented girls as well, like Ramona. It was like amazing just being able to like build that project from the ground up.
Yeah.
Like I really came in with like not really much of a concept, just really wanting to experiment. I'd never really produced with people in the room. It's a lot of like Zoom sessions for me.
Yeah, sure.
I'd get some of those like producers where I'd work like one session with, and then like maybe the next one's like 3 months later. But Harper and Ankur were like every week we're like locking in.
Yeah.
And I made something new with them pretty much every week for almost a year.
Wow.
And these were our 7. But yeah, it was like, I mean, I have nothing but thanks to them. Like they like really like drove a lot of this project with me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been what it is without them. And then my really good friend Jack mixed it. Jack Emblem, and he's a great audio mixer, and Dan mastered it. But yeah, it's 7 songs. It's really thorough. I wouldn't say there's much of a through line, to be honest, which I kind of like. It's a very much like a time capsule project.
Okay.
Each of the songs, like I literally can remember where they were written, what I was feeling. And
that's
like,
great.
I really think like because of that and the writing being a lot stronger than like what I've previously put out. That's why I hope it like really identifies.
Yeah. And if you have that feeling, then why couldn't other people also identify themselves with those feelings that you're putting out?
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
I really hope this album will connect, and I think it will. Just because it feels really personal.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I got really like into the writing and worked a lot on that since Bloom. So
yeah,
really excited for the project.
Sonically, more on the production side of things, how would you compare both Bloom and this new record?
I mean, Bloom was a great record. It was almost like a stepping stone record, but like there was a lot of disjointed pieces. So like I had different producers on every song.
You're right. Sure.
Like I had 4 engineers mix it. So like 2 engineers would do song A and B, 2 engineers would do song C and D. So it like sonically is like not the most balanced.
Yeah.
This song was like Ankur and Harper at the front of the ship on the production for every song.
Yeah.
Like that, there's a through line. And Jack mixed it all himself. I worked with him out of his house and did it. So it like sonically, I think really makes sense.
Yeah.
And like obviously like the topics and the things that I'm saying might not be as like conjoined, but it's supposed to be a bit messy because I'm confident. It's my project. I always tell people it's kind of like me coming into fruition of like a true artist. Like after this project, I like really feel like I know what I want to make, what I want to say.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot more clear about like the whole music thing. So
yeah.
I think there's a lot of through lines in the sonics for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
but it's a lot more dynamic. Yeah. It's a lot more dynamic. That's like probably the biggest difference.
Yeah.
I think a lot of like the stuff on Bloom is like a lot of loop work.
Yeah.
This is like kind of like a Radiohead. There's like there's no loops.
Like
sure. A lot of it's live.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like different sections, a lot of bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Bridges were a huge piece for us. Actually, we talked about it, just making like really dynamic and huge bridges.
From
songs. So that's been a big focus. Yeah.
Were you recording live instruments on the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the drums, I'd say half. Some are programmed, some are live.
Yeah.
But a lot of like the synths and Aaron, Paris.
Of course.
He did strings on a couple of them, and they're all live.
He's
a madman, that guy.
Yeah. But, it's wild.
Yeah. But a lot of live elements on it. And my next stuff I'm working on, because this project's been done for so long, I'm almost done the next one.
Yeah, sure.
But the next one is like almost like 100% live, which I wanted very much so.
Amazing.
Like, I just want to make not necessarily a live album, like, on Spotify when it's like live album. I don't want it to be that, but I want like all the drums, all the guitars, the bass. Like I don't want it to be looped. I want it to be played through.
Yeah.
But yeah, very live focused.
Amazing. What's the dream for this upcoming record? Like, is it more live shows? Do you want to? Is it like? Is there a tour coming? Is it like? What's the rollout? What's the plan for maybe the rest of this year, but also maybe next year? Just the cycle, basically.
Yeah, so I'm planning to play a show on the 9th of September.
Okay.
And then I'm planning also to open for one of my friends. It's not announced yet.
No, you don't need to do this.
But a couple of his shows in November, December kind of time frame.
Great.
And then I'm gonna do some sort of like interactive listening experience with my project when it comes out. So a lot of live stuff. The dream with the project obviously is like one connection. Like I just wanted to connect with as many people as possible. And like live. I just want people to like notice that it's like a big step from Bloom.
Right.
Which I feel like it is. So getting that I feel like would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, playing it live. I mean, I love the songs so much, and a lot of them are built with live in mind.
Yeah.
Which I've never really done before either.
It's important.
So yeah, so I have like really good ideas for the live show and what that looks like. So being able to play that as much as possible would be huge. But tour is definitely like next step, I think. Like I don't necessarily know if it's my own yet,
Yeah.
but being able to like open for someone like on like a North American leg or something like
Yeah,
that,
no,
I think that's next step.
Yeah, that's great. And then talking about that, going into the live stuff, like what can we expect? Let's say a fan's listening to this, or somebody that doesn't know your music. What can somebody expect from a live show? What kind of experience? But also, what are you putting out? Is it bands thing? Doing tracks?
Energy, I think is
there
one.
You go.
I remember my like first 2 shows I ever played. I was so nervous, and like I was nervous people were gonna like judge me or like think it was weird. So I was like very like conservative. And then I think my 3rd show I played School Night at the Drake.
Yes.
And that one I was like, honestly, like, screw it. Like, I'm just going to go on stage and like, I don't even care. Like, if anyone thinks I'm weird, like, I'm just going to like, I have to give them a show. Like, it's a show. Right. So like, if I'm just standing on there, like trying to be cool guy, like it's not going to work. No one's going to identify with it. Like no one else is going to jump up and down if I'm not jumping up and down. Like, you know, I got to bring the energy. So yeah, I mean, I play everything with pretty much a full band. Yeah. I just like, I've fallen in love with like live performances, and I love when I see a full band. Yeah. I've played my first 1 or 2 sets were just tracks. But since then it's been band only. So I'm like, I think it's a 5-piece now. I've had some like trumpet moments and stuff come into play too. Elliot's brother, actually Isaac, he plays sax as well, and he played sax at School Night, which was crazy. But yeah, it's band. Band, a lot of energy. I've been trying to run tracks and band together. It's a hard feat. I get it. Still trying to get there, but to try and give it like really cohesive, you know, energy. Because I love when like a chorus builds and then like some tracks can come in and like boost the energy even more. Yeah. Because you can only do so much with like one mic, right? Totally. But, yeah, I really think the live show has been developing a lot. Like the set at the RBC Canadian Open that I played, I felt really good about, and been rehearsing for this next show coming up, and I feel really good about that too. So, yeah, some covers in there too. I usually play Yellow by Coldplay. Oh yeah, nice. I put a little spin on it, but yeah, nice. I love playing live. So like, I definitely think there's always a lot of energy. The band is as tight as possible. So to wrap up this segment here before we go on to other things, I wanted to talk to you about the opening up for Black Eyed Peas at the Canadian Open. Yeah. How was that? Because I was a huge Black Eyed Peas fan as a teen. Yeah. It was pretty crazy. Was it like a weird experience? Was it cool? I mean, it was kind of both. You could be straight up, yeah. It was weird. But, but no, it was like weird in a good way, like in the best way. But, right. I remember like I first found out, it was like a double whammy. Like I first found out it was the Canadian Open I was playing. Sure. So then I was like already like off the walls, like, oh my God, like I need to start prepping. Like I need to do a good job. This is insane. Yeah. And then I found out, I think it got announced through the Instagram or something from RBC. But then I found out like who it was for. Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, Black Eyed Peas? Like, that's insane. Yeah. And I was like, for my first question, I told my mom, she's like, is Fergie going to be there? I'm like, I don't think so, Mom, but still cool. Anymore. Will's going to be there. Yeah. But yeah, and it was crazy, to be honest. I know Sage played like directly before them, and I watched their set, and Sage killed it. Nice. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. And I was just being like carted around like the whole like golf grounds and stuff. On a golf cart? Yeah, it was insane. All these like drunk like guys were like there like yelling at me, like thinking I think everyone was calling me like Hollywood or something, and I was like, I'm sure they're just going to the stage, like I don't know. But yeah, it was crazy. Like it was such a cool experience, and like even like being able to like watch their set too, like I said, just like live show wise, like they just have so many like, you know, cool gimmicks and you know, bells and whistles. So it was pretty crazy. Amazing. Yeah. Weird but crazy. We're back, everybody. It's Cloud Machine Podcast with Avry. It's the 34th episode. Welcome back. I know it's not a very big pause for you, but for us, it's a little break. We're talking about balancing your career as a full-time finance consultant and your emerging music career. So talk to me about this. You're still working at this firm, I'm guessing? Consulting. There you go. Yeah. Talk to me about what your day-to-day is now. 2 lives, basically. Yeah. It's weird, man, to be honest. Like I mean, I work 9 to 5, sometimes longer, like 9 to 6, 9 to 7. And then I make music. It's like really 2 lives. Like a lot of the times, I mean, I work downtown. I went to school for finance, so I was always like, I'm going to be an investment banker. And then I did like 1 internship in that kind of field, and I was like, I'm not going to be an investment banker.
Sure.
But yeah, and then I kind of like, threw on the suit, started working, and
Sure.
then I literally now will sometimes go to the studio like in a suit. Like it's hilarious.
Yeah,
Like, I'll
yeah,
literally
yeah.
like show up in a tie, and I'll be like, what the but yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I have it to thank. Like, the job and side of things allows me to do so much more with music.
Yes, sure.
Like, I can throw. I don't necessarily need like. I mean, I would like it, but I don't need like a crazy amount of funding. Like, I'm happy putting my own money in sometimes, depending on what it is. And
Yeah.
like, it's still like I have a great team at work and like a great boss. So I never feel like I really have to like, you know, go be too shady. Like I can be
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
have a show in 2 days, and they'll be like, okay, take it off.
Right,
It's
right,
cool.
right.
Um,
Even for something like this, like, would you have just asked
I'll
for
just
the
like
afternoon?
I'll
Or?
just put my out of office on.
Okay,
Left,
okay.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's great. Like it allows me to do so many different things, and I
Yeah.
still like that side of things. Like I was always going to be a business guy until
Totally.
music started, and then I was like, well, do I want to do business anymore? Probably not, but I'm
Yeah.
going to do it. And like rent, like in Toronto, as you probably know,
Yes,
sucks. So
totally. Yeah.
I have to pay it somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what are you doing at work?
I was in like management consulting, and now I'm kind of in more like business strategy. So
Yeah.
I just like help like companies basically tell them what's wrong and how to fix it. I
Yeah.
would say is the best description I could give.
Totally.
But yeah, it's a cool space. I mean, we work like pretty much in like every sector and like different sizes,
Yeah, yeah.
different clients. You have good ones and bad ones, but
Sure.
yeah, it's a roller coaster ride. I mean, I like that with work though. Like I find like really mundane stuff where you're doing it over and over and over and over again. Like
Yeah.
that stuff hurts me. But
Yeah.
but stuff where it's changing like a lot. It's
Yeah.
cool.
How does that help like your current career in the music industry? Because I also sort of went to business school.
Yeah.
And I just know how all these practices help me with all the stuff I'm doing on the music side. Like
Yeah.
how do specific things in your sort of finance life and just even school, just in general,
Mhm.
how has it helped you with your music career?
Taxes.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I think the main one for me is like it gives me a lot of like I did like negotiation and all that stuff like all through business school.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if this was business school or just me as a person, but I feel like it organized my whole life a lot. Like
Yeah.
I find I can keep music really organized with work and balance the both because I'm like a pretty organized person normally, but you like learn a lot of strategy stuff in like school about that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
that's helped a lot. And then I think the last piece that I would say is contracts. Like I did a lot of contract review and stuff of like
Yeah.
maybe not necessarily music contracts, but they have a lot of the same like terms and things. And I remember when I got my first one, I looked through it and I was like, okay, I understand it. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
wasn't reading like a different language. Like I
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
got obviously like did the due diligence, got a lawyer to look at it, but a lot of it like I understood myself. So I like really didn't have to like, pay too much money for like a lawyer to read it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Is it sustainable for you to have both the music and the job? Because I'm sort of in the same boat in regards to that.
Yeah.
How are you balancing it? Because again, a lot of people that are listening might want to have a career in music, are an artist that are listening to get some more tips, tricks, whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of these people also have other jobs.
Yeah.
So what how are you balancing it out, and is it sustainable?
I mean, depends what your definition of sustainable is.
Sure.
I'd say it's reasonably sustainable though. Like I have like the nice thing is I will say that like I said the group's great and it's relatively 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So it's really easy for me to forecast. For example, someone could say, "Hey, can you run a session or do you want to run a session at like 3 p.m. next Wednesday?" And now they don't even ask me that because they know obviously the answer is no, I can't.
Yeah.
But like I have a lot of friends that are working like non 9 to 5 jobs and it's way harder for them to like schedule things because they're like I can tell you on Sunday when I get my schedule, but that's
Yes.
it. For me though, it's like I'm 9 to 5 every day. Weekends are free. Like take your pick.
Yeah.
If you want a session, it has to be 5:30. Like it's just how it is.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it's actually really easy to manage because people and expectation wise, they all understand.
Yeah.
So they know when I'm free. It's not
Yeah.
like a guessing game.
Yeah, it's great.
Sustainable. It is sustainable though. Like, I mean, it's hard some days. Like I won't lie. Like when I have like prep for a show, but also like finish a deck, it's like, what do I prioritize and like what happens,
Yeah.
I've like have run into that a few times, but yeah, all in all, I haven't had too much negative to say about it. Obviously the dream is like eventually music is A1 and then maybe I have like some sort of side thing on the side, but nothing 9 to 5. But yeah, still working towards that.
Is there a trajectory where you see yourself not having?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah,
I'd like to hope so.
Yeah, sure.
I think like it's a lot of it's to do with touring though. Like I think
Totally.
I pretty much have to be like at least doing my own tour and then maybe opening for someone a little bit bigger than me on like a full blown tour. Like North America, maybe a Europe leg. Like I got to be like the opening slot on that, like gone for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I think I'd be like, okay, maybe this year I can give it a shot.
Yeah.
But until that point, I think like I'm probably going to be in this limbo.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. I don't mind the limbo.
Yeah.
Totally. And it also, I feel like I was talking to my friend Jordan the other day about this, but it kind of helps you really like maximize your time that you have for music.
Yes.
Because, you know, if I didn't have anything to do all day, I think I would just naturally become a little bit lazier with like, oh, I can do that tomorrow. But for me, it's like, okay, I have a deck that has to go out on Friday. It's a Wednesday. Like if I'm going to make this song or like if I have to do this edit, like I have to do it tonight. Like it's like I can't do it tomorrow. I can't do it Friday. So like for me, it's like I have like 3 hours. Like, okay, I got to be efficient. So it does help me like bang a lot of stuff out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it like keeps me accountable, which is good.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
First up with RBCxMusic is described as a program developed to showcase and elevate emerging musicians and recording artists from across Canada. The new featured artists will benefit from unique performance opportunities, mentorship, funding, as well as media and promotional marketing support from RBCxMusic. So, my understanding of it is that every year RBCxMusic picks out 20 artists from Canada, one being yourself, also Luna L that was on last week. Is this accurate?
It is accurate. Yeah.
How has your experience been with the program?
It's amazing. Like the whole first up with RBCxMusic program has been crazy, honestly. Pretty surreal. Like when I got selected, I couldn't actually believe it, to be honest. Like I did my final interview. I had to move around all these work meetings and stuff, and I got on it and I met Jem and Ian, who's no longer with the program, but still like in touch with. And they were amazing. And I was like, oh, this is like such a cool program. And it's such a cool opportunity. Like I think they pick very well, obviously whoever's on the panel. I mean, I'd hope if I'm going to pick, I'm like, oh, they pick well. But like even the rest of like, I knew a lot of the other people that got picked too, and there were people that I knew through music that I was just a fan of, genuinely. So I would listen to their music, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. I remember in the first meeting, they wouldn't tell us who we got picked, and then we all met on the Zoom, and I remember like getting on the Zoom and I was seeing all these names pop in. I'm like, you're on it, and I was like messaging them on the side. I was like, I can't believe this is crazy. But yeah, it's such a great program. I mean, it really like picks artists, and I find so much similarity with a lot of the artists I've talked to in the program of like where they're at in their career, like questions we have. And we're all kind of at this point where I feel like we've done enough to kind of, you know, benefit from a program like this. But the program just gives you ammunition, to be honest. Like it just helps, you know, push you to the next level and like hopefully get you to somewhere, you know, further along than where you were before the program. So,
what can one do? Like for you taking the opportunities that RBCxMusic is giving you, how does one sort of bring these opportunities and sort of capitalize on it after?
I think you honestly just have to be like a really yes person. Like I told myself going into this too, I was like, I'm not going to say no to it. Like anything they give me, I'll do it. Like I don't care. It's like I feel like I forget whoever said the quote, but it's always like any publicity is good publicity. But yeah, I mean, for me, I love playing live. Like I'm happy playing live. I like always wanted to do more of that. They've given me a really good opportunity with that stuff. And then even just like the marketing promotional support for like singles. Like I told you, like I'm just so focused on the music. Sometimes it's really nice having like a few people in the background that are really helping propel it on like the streaming side or the press side, like things like that. So I think they make it really easy to take advantage of the program. You just have to be like kind of willing to like jump in and start swimming.
Can I ask you about the application process? Last week we didn't necessarily talk about the application process, but does one apply months ahead of time? When did you apply and when did you get the answer?
I can't remember the exact dates, to be honest. Gene did a lot of it for me.
Sure.
I have to think, but it was definitely months. Like it's not something you apply the day before.
Right.
Like, it's obviously there's a lot of people that do apply, and like obviously the program is gaining more and more and more notoriety like through the years. So I think like it's becoming so in demand that they push applications further and further and further ahead. They just have so many to review, and they want to be fair to everyone. So I think months in advance, if anyone listening is wanting to apply, look early is my advice, and just get it in. it's something you don't want to leave to last minute. It's like a pretty comprehensive application. They want to make sure that whoever they're picking is, you know, the real deal about it.
Yeah.
So.
I think from my research, I believe they announced it in May.
Okay.
So maybe is it like an early 2024 to sort of look at
I feel
applications?
Like probably start hearing stuff around like, you know, I forget the seasons, but probably spring.
Yeah.
That's relatively accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere out there.
There you go.
It's definitely not winter, but yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between winter and summer.
Check it out, folks. It's first up with RBCxMusic. You probably know a bunch of people that either have already done it, that are in the program currently, and you know, you see all these opportunities that are being given to a lot of these artists, and they're great. Of course, opening up for the Black Eyed Peas, or last week's Luna opening up for Alanis Morissette, or tonight, and I'm talking about tonight, not September 12th when this is released, but tonight, as in August 25th, Katie Tupper's opening up for City and Color at Budweiser Stage. Crazy. So it's there's a lot of opportunities there, and go check out the program. It's first up with RBCxMusic. All right, we're back. It's the Dreamfest game with Avry on the 34th episode of the Cloud Machine podcast. We've talked about it before we press record, everybody. We are just going to go back and forth on the Dreamfest game. For those who don't know what it is about, it's just to learn a little bit more about the guests and what they're listening to, who would they want to see live. By the way, this is a dead or alive situation, so it can be whoever you'd like. So again, it's headliner, second headliner, opener, where, when, attendance, and the food and drink for the people listening. So who would be headlining this festival, this Dream Fest?
Okay, first headliner, I think is easy answer for me. It's Radiohead. That's got to be the headliner. Yeah. I've never seen them in concert, and I would love to see them. Yeah. Prime or no prime, I'm good. Yeah. Yeah.
Second headliner.
I think just based on the show, it'd probably be Frank Ocean.
Whoa.
I'd love to see Frank live. I've never seen him live either.
Yeah.
I'd like him to sing, unlike his Coachella set. But but yeah, I love his music. That's not a shot at him, but I do love him.
What was it with that Coachella set?
I don't know. I think he was probably trying to like pull something like, I mean, irrespective, he was probably trying to do something like relatively creative or like not been done before. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't performed for so long. He probably felt like he needed to do something crazy. He could have just gone up there and sang one song and everyone would have gone wild. But yeah, I think everyone's just been waiting for his music for so long. There's just so much pressure and onus on him, like doing something crazy and new that I feel like I would get to as an artist for sure. So I have an appreciation for it.
Amazing. Who would be opening the evening?
Opening the evening, I would say an artist I actually just got recently into, who I'm like so obsessed with, Ryan Beatty. Heard of him?
Yeah.
So he just put out a record called Calico.
Yes.
I'm covering actually one of the songs at my next show.
Yes.
Ribbons, it's called. And yeah, I think he is like one of the most, I listened to that album like truly front to back, and I love every song. And like, I think the writing on it is like impeccable. I know Ethan produced like pretty much all of it.
Yes.
And I know he's worked with like Bonnie Vay, who's like insane. But yeah, Ryan I think is like gonna be my next favorite. So,
totally agree. Agree. Check it out, everybody. Ryan Beatty is an album that just came out. You might have even seen your friends share the album visual on a story or something. Yeah. It went around.
Visuals were crazy too.
Yeah.
Very like simple but cool.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him live actually in September when he comes.
Amazing.
So
amazing. Check it out, folks. Now where would this happen?
Okay, so I gave some thought to this one. I feel like it would be really cool if the festival kind of happened in like an isolated field somewhere in like Ireland or like Iceland or something, like in the hills.
Yeah. Like
on some like crazy field. Like I think that would be sweet. Like not in like a normal concert venue at all.
Yeah.
And not near like any houses or like anyone. So I think it could go like as loud as possible. And not like crazy gimmicks or like all these like lights and visuals and stuff. Just like really, because like Ryan's like singer-songwriter by heart. Frank is too, and like something like on a small stage with like Radiohead playing. Really good quality audio and stuff.
Yeah. Let's do Oxfordshire for the Radiohead fans out there. Yeah, when would it be?
I think this would be in the summer. I think it would have to be like, it would start, I think I don't know what time sunset is in like Ireland, for example, but like I think it would start at like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Radiohead would come on at like 8 and Sunset would be at like 8:30. So like halfway through their set.
Yes.
Sunset. Crazy. I just feel like it'd be like some like nuts experience. Like,
yeah. Amazing. How many people could go to the show? Is it like very intimate, or is it like 50,000?
I have a really soft spot for like intimate stuff, to be honest. I just feel like those shows and seeing an artist at a show that's intimate, even before they're big, I feel like that's made me like a true fan of so many people. Like, when I see them in like a 200-person room, like I'm their fan for life, and then I see them in like a huge stadium, and I'm like, I saw them in like a 200-person room. I feel like people have a lot of pride with that kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
So I would like it to be pretty small, to be honest. Maybe like 300 to 500 people.
Yeah.
And like in some like really secluded area, small stage. Yeah. Really intimate.
And lastly, if you had to a food or a drink or both that could be special only for that evening, do you have like what are your thoughts here?
I guess if it's in Ireland, probably like a really like nice cold pint of Guinness would be good.
There you go.
And like some sort of like specialized glass that everyone could like take home. That would be cool. I should market for these guys.
There you go.
Yeah. But that'd probably be it.
Amazing. All right. Well, that's how we finish the app, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for
having me.
Accepting the invite. And great to know a little bit more about you. We have a bunch of connections outside of just the studio. And looking forward to the next record. Yeah. Next single that's coming out, Call Me On Your Way Out, on September 1st.
September 1st?
Yeah. It's already out.
Yeah, it's already out. Go listen now.
Yeah. Go listen now. Check them out at Avry.music. It's AVRY music on IG. TikTok as well.
It's in creation.
It's in creation.
Yeah.
Stay tuned on that. I also want to thank those who are listening. Thanks to Rachel as well, who's been in the room for these RBCxMusic sort of interviews here. But again, yes, want to thank those who are listening. It's been great seeing the interaction. Please continue to interact, comment, subscribe, do whatever you got to do to help us continue this conversation about the music business, the music industry online. It's been great to have you listen and interact and
do it all.
Anyway, do it all.
Do it all.
Cheers, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks.
Stay safe. Bye.